Kang Do-yoon opened his eyes to smoke and fire. His transport ship was falling apart around him. Warning lights flashed red. Alarms screamed in his ears. He pulled himself from the pilot's seat as the ship broke through clouds and headed straight for a green moon below. He had been a soldier once, a Marine in the Earth Coalition forces. Now he was just a mercenary, taking jobs across the galaxy to pay for food and fuel. This job had been simple. Transport medical supplies to a colony in the outer systems. Easy money. No danger. The pirates had appeared from nowhere. Do-hyun grabbed the emergency handles as his ship hit the trees. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. His body slammed against the walls again and again. Then everything went quiet. He crawled out of the wreckage as flames ate what was left of his ship. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his head. His left arm hung loose at his side, maybe broken. His ribs hurt when he breathed. But he was alive. The forest around him was strange and beautiful. Trees with silver leaves rose high into a purple sky. 2 moons hung overhead, one small and white, one large and blue. The air smelled sweet, like flowers after rain. Do-hyun had no idea where he was. He walked for 3 days. He ate strange fruits that made his stomach hurt. He drank water from streams that tasted like metal. He slept in the roots of giant trees while strange animals called out in the darkness. His wounds got worse. Fever burned in his blood. But he kept walking. On the 3rd day, he found the crashed transport. It was a beautiful ship, all white metal and gold designs. Royal markings covered its sides. But it was broken now, torn open like a wounded animal. Bodies lay around it. Tall beings with silver skin and violet eyes, dressed in armor that shined like mirrors. Guards, Do-hyun realized. Dead guards thought something had attacked them. Something with claws and teeth. Do-hyun moved carefully through the wreckage. His soldier training came back to him like an old friend. Check corners. Watch for movement. Breathe slow. Stay calm. He heard crying. Under a piece of fallen metal, he found her. A young woman with silver skin like moonlight and hair as dark as space. Her violet eyes were wide with fear. She was trapped, a heavy beam pressing down on her legs. "Help me," she whispered in the common tongue of the galaxy. "Please." Do-hyun did not know who she was. He did not know that she was Princess Yuna, youngest daughter of Queen Myrae, ruler of the Valoran Empire. He did not know that her people controlled 12 star systems and looked down on humans as primitive creatures barely worth noticing. He only knew that she needed help. He grabbed the beam with both hands. Pain exploded through his broken arm. He screamed but did not let go. He lifted with everything he had. His muscles tore. His vision went white. But the beam moved. "Crawl out," he gasped. Now, she pulled herself free just as his strength failed. The beam crashed back down. Do-hyun fell to his knees, breathing hard. Blood dripped from his nose. The princess stared at him. No one had ever worked so hard to save her. Her own guards had died trying, but this stranger, this human, had lifted metal that should have been impossible for one man to move. "Who are you?" she asked Dot before he could answer. They heard the sounds. Hissing, clicking, heavy footsteps through the forest. "Kravix," the princess whispered, her face going pale. "They are coming back." Do-hyun did not know what Kravix were. He learned quickly. They came through the trees like nightmares. Tall reptiles with green scales and yellow eyes. They walked on 2 legs and carried weapons made of bone and black metal. Blood covered their mouths. They had killed the guards. Now they were coming to finish the job. There were 5 of them. Do-hyun picked up a broken sword from a dead guard's hand. It was too heavy. His arm was too weak. He was too tired, too hurt, too human. but the princess was behind him. She was young and afraid and had no one else. "Stay behind me," he said. The first Kravik rushed at him with claws raised. Do-hyun moved without thinking. He ducked under the claws, drove the broken sword into the creature's chest, and twisted. The Kravik screamed and fell. The other four attacked together. What happened next was not a battle. It was madness. Do-hyun fought like a wild animal. He bit and punched and stabbed. Claws tore his skin open. Teeth sank into his shoulder. Blood poured from wounds all over his body. But every time they knocked him down, he got back up. The princess watched with horror and wonder. She had seen warriors fight before, trained soldiers with centuries of experience. But she had never seen anything like this. This human fought like death itself meant nothing to him. Like pain was just a suggestion. Like giving up was a concept he had never learned. When the last Kravik fell, Do-hyun stood alone in a circle of bodies. Blood covered him from head to toe. Most of it was his own. His legs shook. His vision blurred. But he turned to the princess and held out his hand. "Can you walk?" he asked Don. She nodded, too shocked to speak. "Then we go. More will come." He carried her when her legs gave out. He walked through the night when his own body begged him to stop. He fought off 2 more Kravik scouts who found their trail. And when dawn broke over the silver forest, he saw lights ahead. A camp. Forlorn soldiers on patrol. He took 3 more steps. Then Kang Do-hyun, the human who would not stop, finally collapsed. The princess caught him before he hit the ground. She held his broken body in her arms and screamed for help until her throat was raw. She did not know yet that she was holding her future. All she knew was that this strange creature had bled for her, and she would not let him die. Do-hyun dreamed of Earth. He dreamed of his mother cooking rice in their small kitchen. He dreamed of rain falling on Seoul streets. He dreamed of his old squad, laughing around a fire on some forgotten planet. Good dreams mixed with bad ones. Blood and flowers. Screaming and singing. Pain and peace. When he finally opened his eyes, he was in a room made of light. The walls glowed soft blue. The ceiling showed stars moving slowly across a night sky. The bed beneath him was softer than anything he had ever felt. Strange machines floated around him, beeping quietly, checking his body. He tried to sit up. Pain stopped him immediately. "Do not move," said a voice. "Your body is still healing." A Forlorn woman in white robes stood beside his bed. She had the same silver skin and violet eyes as the princess. But her face was cold and careful, like a scientist studying an experiment. "You have been sleeping for 6 days," she said. "We did not think you would wake up. Where am I?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was rough and weak. "The Crystal Palace, heart of the Forlorn Empire." The woman shook her head slowly. "You should be dead, human. Your wounds were terrible. You lost more blood than your body could hold. Any Forlorn would have died in the first hour. But you kept living. Your body kept fighting to repair itself. It is most strange." Do-hyun looked down at his arms. New scars covered his skin, pink and fresh. He could feel bandages around his chest and stomach. Everything hurt, but it was a healing kind of hurt. "The princess," he said. "Is she safe?" The woman's cold face changed for just a moment. Something like surprise flickered in her eyes. "You nearly died, and your first question is about her?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, Princess Yuna is safe. Because of you." 2 more days passed. Do-hyun got stronger. He learned to sit up, then to stand, then to walk. The Forlorn healers watched him like he was some kind of miracle. Humans were supposed to be weak, they whispered to each other. Humans were supposed to be fragile and short-lived. But this one healed faster than any patient they had ever seen. On the 9th day, soldiers came to his room. They wore armor that shined like liquid silver. Their faces showed no emotion. They carried weapons that hummed with quiet power. "The Queen demands your presence," said the leader. "You will come with us." It was not a request. Dohyun was still weak. His legs shook with each step. But he walked through the palace with his head held high. He would not let these people see him crawl. The Crystal Palace was the most beautiful place he had ever seen. Everything was made of white stone and flowing water and living light. Gardens grew on every level. Music played from somewhere far away. The Lorens in colorful robes stopped to stare as the human passed. They whispered behind their hands. Some looked curious. Others looked disgusted. Dohyun ignored them all. The throne room was enormous. Pillars of pure crystal rose toward a ceiling lost in clouds. 1,000 nobles stood in rows. Their silver faces turned toward a single chair at the far end of the hall. And on that chair sat Queen Mira. She was old. Dohyun could see it in her eyes, even though her face was smooth and her body was strong. She had the look of someone who had seen centuries pass. Someone who had watched empires rise and fall. Someone who had lost everything and rebuilt it again. She was terrifying. Dohyun walked the long path to her throne. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Every eye in the room watched him. He felt like an ant walking toward a mountain. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, he stopped. He did not know the proper way to greet a queen. So he simply stood there and waited. Queen Mira studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly she rose from her throne. She walked down the stairs with grace that seemed impossible for someone so old. The nobles gasped. The queen never left her throne for anyone. She stopped in front of Dohyun. They were the same height. Her violet eyes looked into his brown ones. Then Queen Mira, ruler of 12 star systems, bowed her silver head. The throne room exploded with shocked whispers. Nothing like this had ever happened. The queen bowed to no one, not to other rulers, not to gods, not to anyone. "You returned my daughter to me," she said, her voice clear and strong. "You bled for her when my own guards could not protect her. You carried her through darkness when you should have been dead. There is no treasure in my empire that can repay such a debt." She raised her head and looked at him again. "Name your reward, human, ships, wealth, a planet of your own. Whatever you desire, it will be yours." The nobles leaned forward. What would this primitive creature ask for? Power? Gold? 100 servants? The humans were known for their greed, their endless hunger for more. Dohyun thought about it carefully. Then he spoke. "Fix my ship," he said, "and give me passage back to human space. That is all I want." The silence that followed was deafening. Princess Yuna, standing among the nobles, felt something cold in her chest. You wanted to leave? After everything they had been through together? She did not understand the feeling. She only knew it hurt. Queen Mira's eyes narrowed. In 700 years of life, no one had ever refused her generosity. No one had ever wanted nothing from her. This human was either very foolish or very interesting. Perhaps both. "I see," she said slowly. A small smile touched her lips. "But I cannot let you leave so soon. You are still healing. And I have not yet found a proper way to thank you." She turned and walked back up the stairs to her throne. "You will stay here as my honored guest," she announced, "until I decide how best to repay your kindness." Dohyun opened his mouth to argue, but he saw the look in her eyes and understood. This was not an invitation. It was a command. He was trapped in a palace of silver and light, and the queen was not going to let him go. Weeks passed in the Crystal Palace. Dohyun's body healed completely, leaving only scars to remember the battle in the forest. He was given a room with windows that looked out over gardens and waterfalls. Servants brought him food and clothes. Guards followed him wherever he went. He was a guest. He was also a prisoner. The difference was hard to see. The Valoran nobles did not know what to make of him. Humans were supposed to be simple creatures, violent and loud and short-lived. They burned through their tiny lifespans like candles in the wind, accomplishing nothing, leaving nothing behind. That was what everyone believed, but this human had killed 5 Kravik hunters alone. This human had carried a princess through the night. This human had refused wealth and power as if they meant nothing. He confused them. And Valarans did not like being confused. Princess Yuna visited him every day. At first, she came to thank him. Then she came to ask questions. Then she came simply because she wanted to see him. She found reasons to stay longer each time. A new food she wanted him to try. A garden she wanted to show him. A song she wanted him to hear. Du Hyan was careful with her at first. She was a princess. He was nobody. The distance between them was wider than the space between stars. But Yuna did not care about distance. "Tell me about Earth," she said one evening, sitting beside him in a garden of blue flowers. "Tell me about your home." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He rarely talked about home. It hurt too much. "It is a small planet," he said finally. "One sun, one moon, lots of water. The sky is blue during the day and black at night. In the city where I grew up, you could smell food cooking on every street. My mother made the best soup. She would wake up early every morning just to make it for me." "Is she still alive?" Yuna asked softly. "No, she died while I was away at war. I never got to say goodbye." Yuna reached out and touched his hand. Her silver fingers were cool against his warm skin. "I am sorry," she said. "That is a heavy thing to carry." He looked at her. Really looked at her. She was beautiful in a way that was almost not real. But it was her eyes that surprised him. There was kindness there. Real kindness. Not the fake politeness of the other nobles. "Why do you keep coming here?" he asked. "I am just a human. Your people think we are barely worth talking to." Yuna smiled. "My people are fools. They have lived so long that they have forgotten what it means to be truly alive. But you," she shook her head, "you live more in one day than most Valorans live in a century. I want to understand how." Before Do-hyun could answer, a shadow fell over them. Lord Taiwu stood at the entrance to the garden. He was tall and handsome, with silver skin that seemed to glow from within. His violet eyes were cold as winter ice. He was one of the most powerful nobles in the empire, and everyone knew he wanted to marry Princess Yuna. "Princess," he said, his voice smooth as silk, "I have been looking for you, and I find you here. With this." He looked at Do-hyun like he was looking at garbage. Yuna stood up quickly. "Lord Taiwu, I was just showing our guest the gardens." "Yes, you have been showing him many things lately." Taiwu stepped closer, his eyes fixed on Do-hyun. "I wonder what a mayfly could possibly find interesting about our world. Your kind lives, what, 80 years? 90 if you are lucky. That is less than a breath to us." Do-hyun stayed seated. He looked up at the Lord with a calm face. "I am not sure," he said. "Maybe we find things interesting because we know our time is short. We do not have centuries to waste being bored." Taiwu's face tightened. "You speak boldly for a creature who should be grateful we let him live." "I am grateful, but I am not afraid." Something dangerous flashed in Taiwu's eyes. He turned to Yuna with a forced smile. "The Queen has called a gathering tonight to introduce our guest to the court properly. You should prepare." He walked away without waiting for an answer. That night, the great hall was filled with nobles from across the empire. They wore robes of every color. They sparkled with jewels that cost more than planets. They whispered and laughed and watched the human like he was entertainment. Do-hyun stood before them in simple clothes. He had refused the fancy robes they offered him. He was not going to pretend to be something he was not. Lord Taiwu stood among the nobles, smiling his cold smile. "Tell us, human," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "What do your people contribute to the galaxy? What have you built? What have you discovered? In all your short, violent history, what have you given the stars except war and noise?" The nobles laughed. It was a cruel sound. Daoyun looked at Taiwu for a long moment. The room went quiet, waiting. "We have not built empires that last 1,000 years, Daoyun said. His voice was calm and clear. "We have not discovered secrets of the universe. We live short lives. We make mistakes. We fight wars we should not fight." He paused. "But we live every day like it matters. We love with our whole hearts because we know we do not have forever. We fight until our last breath because giving up is not in our blood. Maybe that is why a mayfly could do what trained Valoran guards could not." The room went completely silent. "Maybe," Daoyun continued, looking straight at Taiwu, "living forever has made you forget how to actually live." Lord Taiwu's face went pale with rage. But before he could speak, Queen Marae's voice cut through the tension. "Well said." She was smiling. Actually smiling. Perhaps there is more to humans than we knew. The next morning, a Krovic warship arrived at Valora Prime. They brought a message from the Krovic Dominion. The human had killed 12 of their hunters. Their blood laws demanded vengeance. Surrender the human, or face war. The peace that Daoyun had found was about to end. The Krovic ambassador was called Gorth. He was massive, even for his kind. His green scales were dark with age and covered with scars from 100 battles. When he walked into the throne room, the floor shook with each step. His yellow eyes burned with cold hatred. "Queen Marae," he growled, his voice like stones grinding together. "You know why I am here." The queen sat on her throne with her usual calm, but Daoyun could see tension in her shoulders. The Krovics were dangerous. A war with them would cost millions of lives. "Your hunters attacked a royal transport," the queen said. "They killed my guards. They tried to take my daughter. And you come here demanding justice?" Gorth showed his teeth in something that was not a smile. "Our hunters follow blood trails. That is their right. That is their nature. But your human killed 12 of them. 12. Our laws are clear. Blood must be answered with blood. Those hunters would have enslaved my daughter. That is not my concern. The human must be surrendered to us, or the Dominion will consider this an act of war." The nobles whispered among themselves. Many of them looked at Daoyun with calculating eyes. One human life against the safety of the empire. The answer was obvious to them. Lord Taiwu stepped forward with a satisfied smile. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider the ambassador's words. The human is a guest, yes, but surely he would not want his presence to cause a war. Surely he would want to do the honorable thing." Daoyun felt everyone looking at him. The nobles wanted him gone. Taiwu wanted him dead. Even some of the guards seemed to agree with the logic. He stepped forward before the queen could speak. "He's right," Daoyun said. Princess Yuna gasped. "No, I will not let people die for me," Daoyun continued. "I killed those hunters to save the princess. I do not regret it, but I will not hide behind others while they pay for my actions. If surrendering myself prevents a war, then I will go with the ambassador." He looked at Yuna. Her violet eyes were filled with tears. His heart ached at the sight, but he kept his face calm. "It was an honor to know you, princess." He turned to walk toward Gorth. The Krovic ambassador grinned with cruel pleasure. "Stop." Queen Marae's voice was not loud, but it filled the entire room. Everyone froze. The queen rose from her throne. She walked down the stairs slowly, her eyes fixed on Gorth. "You forget yourself," ambassador. This human bled for my daughter. He carried her through darkness when he should have been dead. His life belongs to this house now. Her voice grew hard as steel. And I protect what is mine. Goreth's grin faded. You would risk war for this creature? I would risk much more than that. Then you are a fool. The Dominion's armies will crush your empire. Your worlds will burn. Your people will become slaves. All for one worthless human? The Queen smiled. It was a dangerous smile. Perhaps. Or perhaps there is another way. She turned to look at Diane. I invoke the ancient law. Trial by champion. Single combat. If our champion defeats yours, the blood debt is settled. Your dominion will leave in peace. Do you accept? The room went completely silent. Goreth stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was an ugly sound that echoed off the crystal walls. Trial by champion? You think any Valoran warrior can defeat a Kravik? Very well, Queen, I accept. But I choose my champion. His yellow eyes gleamed. Vorkith the Unbroken. He has killed over 100 opponents in single combat. He has never lost. Never even been wounded. Your champion will die, and then you will surrender the human anyway. The Queen's smile did not waver. I did not say my champion would be Valoran. She turned to look at Dalian. Every eye in the room followed hers. Dalian understood. His stomach went cold, but his face stayed calm. You want me to fight? He asked. I want you to choose, the Queen said. You said you would not let others pay for your actions. Here is your chance. Fight for yourself. Fight for my daughter. Fight for everyone who would die in a war you did not want. Yuna grabbed his arm. You cannot do this. Vorkith is a monster. He will kill you. Dohin looked at her. He saw the fear in her eyes. He saw the tears on her silver cheeks. He saw something else there too. Something that looked like love. Maybe, he said softly. But I have to try. He turned back to the Queen and bowed his head. I accept. The next 7 days were the hardest of his life. He trained from dawn to midnight. Valoran weapon masters taught him their techniques. He learned how Kravej fought, how they moved, where their weak points were. He pushed his body until it screamed for rest, then pushed harder. Princess Yuna visited him every night. She brought him food and water and sat with him while he recovered. They did not talk much. They did not need to. Her presence was enough. On the 6th night, she finally spoke the words that had been burning inside her. I do not want you to die. Dohyun set down his sword and looked at her. I do not want to die either. Then why are you doing this? You could run, steal a ship, disappear into the galaxy. No one would find you, and leave you here? Leave your mother to fight a war alone? Leave everything He stopped himself. Everything you what? She whispered. He reached out and touched her face. His rough fingers brushed against her silver skin. Everything I have started to care about. Yuna closed her eyes. A tear ran down her cheek. Promise me you will come back, she said. Duhayan pulled her close and held her. He could feel her heart beating against his chest. He could feel her warmth against his skin. I promise, he said. He hoped it was not a lie. The morning of the fight arrived too soon. Dohyun put on his armor, picked up his sword, and walked toward the arena. Thousands of people waited there. Valorans, Kraviks, representatives from 100 other worlds. They had all come to watch a human die. Dohyun planned to disappoint them. The arena was ancient. Its stone walls had seen 1,000 battles over 1,000 years. Blood had soaked into the ground so deeply that no amount of cleaning could remove it. Champions had fought and died here since before humans discovered fire. Today, another champion would fall. The stands were packed with creatures from across the galaxy. Valorans in their colorful robes, Kraviks in their bone armor, traders and diplomats and soldiers from 100 different worlds. They had all come to see the impossible. A human fighting a Kravik champion. Most of them expected it to be quick. Dayun walked into the arena alone. His armor was simple silver metal, made by Valaran smiths who had wished him well. His sword was short and sharp, forged with blessings whispered into the steel. He looked small under the vast sky. He looked fragile against the ancient stones. Queen Myre watched from the royal box with her daughter beside her. Princess Yuna had not slept in days. Her violet eyes were red from crying. She held her mother's hand so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. "He will win," the queen said quietly. "I have seen the fire in him. What if he does not?" Yuna whispered that the queen did not answer. There was nothing to say. On the other side of the arena, a gate opened. The ground shook with footsteps. The Kravik spectators roared with approval as their champion emerged. Vorkith, the Unbroken, was a nightmare made flesh. He stood 8 feet tall. His scales were black as midnight, scarred by 100 battles. His arms were thick as tree trunks. His claws were long as daggers. He carried a sword that was taller than Doyan, a massive blade of black metal that had drunk the blood of over 100 opponents. He had never lost. He had never been wounded. He had never known fear. Until today. Vorkith looked at the tiny human standing across from him and laughed. The sound was like thunder rolling across mountains. "This is your champion?" He roared at Queen Myre. "This insect? I will crush him in seconds, and then I will take your princess as my prize." Doyan said nothing. He simply raised his sword and waited. The horns sounded. The fight began. Vorkith charged like a storm. His massive sword cut through the air with a sound like screaming wind. Doyan dove to the side as the blade crashed into the ground where he had been standing. Stone shattered. Dust filled the air. Doyan rolled to his feet and attacked. His sword flashed toward Vorkith's leg. The Kravik blocked it easily, laughing as the impact knocked Doyan backward. "Pathetic," Vorkith growled. "Fight me properly, human. Make this interesting." Doyan attacked again. And again. And again. He was fast for a human, faster than Vorkith expected. But speed was not enough. Every attack was blocked. Every strike was turned aside. And when Vorkith countered, it was devastating. The first blow caught Doyan in the ribs. He felt bones crack. He flew backward and crashed into the stone wall of the arena. Blood filled his mouth. The crowd gasped. Yuna screamed. Doyan got up. Vorkith attacked again. His claws raked across Doyan's arm, cutting deep into muscle. His sword slammed into Doyan's side, denting armor and breaking more ribs. His tail whipped around and caught Doyan's legs, sending him crashing to the ground. Blood poured from a dozen wounds. Doyan's vision blurred. His body screamed at him to stop, to give up, to accept the darkness. He got up. The arena fell quiet. Even the Kraviks stopped cheering. They watched in confused silence as the broken human rose to his feet again. And again. And again. Vorkith hit him with everything he had. He broke Doyan's left arm. He opened cuts on his face so deep that blood ran into his eyes. He cracked his skull against the stones. Doyan got up. "What are you?" Vorkith demanded. For the first time, there was something in his voice that sounded like confusion. "Why do you not fall? Why do you not die?" Doyan spat blood onto the stones. His legs shook. His arms hung limp at his sides. He could barely see through the red haze covering his eyes, but he grinned. "Humans do not know how to quit," he said. His voice was weak but clear. "It is our greatest flaw and our greatest strength." Vorkith roared and raised his sword for the killing blow. All his frustration, all his confusion, all his growing fear poured into that single strike. But fear makes you careless. Do-hyun saw the opening. One tiny gap in Vorkith's guard. One moment of hesitation born from an emotion the Kravik had never felt before. He moved. Later, people would argue about what they saw. Some said the human moved faster than any creature had a right to move. Some said it was luck. Some said it was the spirits of the arena guiding his blade. But everyone agreed on what happened next. Do-hyun's sword found Vorkith's throat. The Kravik champion, the Unbroken, stumbled backward. His yellow eyes went wide with shock. His massive sword fell from his claws and clattered on the stones. He fell to his knees. Then he fell forward. And he did not get up. The arena was silent for a long moment. Then Princess Yuna screamed with joy, and the silence shattered into 1,000 pieces. The Valoran crowd erupted in cheers. The Kravik stared in disbelief. Gorath, watching from his seat, looked like he had seen a ghost. Do-hyun stood alone in the center of the arena, covered in blood, barely able to stand. He looked up at the royal box and found Yuna's eyes. Then he smiled and collapsed. He woke up in the healing chamber again. But this time, Yuna was beside him, holding his hand, her face wet with happy tears. "You promised you would come back," she whispered. "You kept your promise." "I always keep my promises," he said. His voice was rough, but his eyes were warm. The door opened. Queen Mireille entered, followed by Gorath. The Kravik ambassador looked smaller somehow, defeated. "The blood debt is settled," Gorath said, his voice bitter. "The Dominion will withdraw." He paused and looked at Do-hyun with something that might have been respect. "You fought well, human. No one has ever beaten Vorkith. I did not think any creature could." He bowed his massive head. Then he turned and left. Queen Mireille watched him go, then turned to Do-hyun with a smile. "You have saved my daughter twice now," she said. "Once from hunters, once from war. I think perhaps you should become part of this family permanently." She looked at Yuna. "My daughter may choose her own husband. That has always been my rule. And I believe she has already chosen." Yuna blushed silver, but she did not let go of Do-hyun's hand. "I choose him," she said firmly. "I choose the human who bled for me." Months later, Do-hyun stood on a balcony of the Crystal Palace, watching 2 suns set over the horizon. Yuna stood beside him, her hand in his, her head resting on his shoulder. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. He thought about it. He thought about the rain and the mountains and his mother's soup. He thought about the friends he had lost and the home he would never see again. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But home is not a place. Home is the people you would bleed for." He turned and looked at her. His silver princess. His impossible love, and I have found my home. She kissed him softly as the suns disappeared and the stars came out. One by one, filling the sky with light. Far across the galaxy, humans continued to burn through their short lives like candles in the wind. They fought and loved and died and were forgotten. But on Valara Prime, one human had proven something important. Short lives burn brightest. And sometimes the brightest fires never go out.